Hi, guys. It's Mike and Ricky again. And this week we are going to be talking about 1986 Highlander. Michael, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, sir? Doing
I'm
good?
fantastic.
Good. Fantastic. We didn't have last week happening, did we? We didn't do our last
didn't.
week's show.
No,
But that gave
but
me,
we made some plans.
we made plans, which
So,
always seems to change. But yeah, we did make some plans. So, I did have some time to do some reading, So
okay.
since we didn't have to prep for the show last week, I was, I've been reading a lot of different statistics and some research, I've been kind of in this,
Okay.
this fact finding. And, there was a lot of studies that's been made. A couple of studies I thought was interesting. There's a study that have shown that people who have more birthdays live longer with those who don't have as many birthdays.
Oh, okay. That I think that checks out.
There's the other one too. It's a fact that taller people sleep longer in bed than shorter people. And I think that's, to me, so that's fascinating, I don't know how they do these things. There's the other one too, I love talking about different things. This other one, it says there's another in a recent study, it's been shown that more airplanes are at the bottom of the sea than there are submarines in the sky. That's fascinating to me. It's,
I think those are pretty accurate.
you think?
I think so.
Yeah. They come up with all kinds of stuff.
The Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And with my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Pope. Man.
More airplanes in the ocean than submarines in the sky.
Yeah, exactly. Man.
That's accurate.
It is accurate.
An accurate thing.
But, they have to spend all that money on those studies, just to be sure of it.
This is true. Definitely spending a lot of money on studies. Michael.
Hey.
Been a long week already.
It's been a long week. You can just feel the energy, folks, just coming right out of me tonight. And tonight I'm so excited about our topic. It's fantastic. It's called The Highlander. You remember The Highlander? Not the series, but the 1986 version. That's right. The movie that's aged as well as my underwear after a all-you-can-eat Mexican restaurant buffet. So yes, exactly. Yes, I'm glad that Tommy Russo had another job. Thank you. The guy from The Room is that the same guy from The Room who plays in Highlander?
No, that is not the guy from The Room.
They must have the same acting coach. But anyhow, anyway, we have other things we're going to talk about tonight, right? We got like news. We got nerdy news.
We do have a little nerdy news. Maybe we should start there.
Okay, let's do that.
It's time for the nerdy happenings of the week.
Oh, man.
Let's start with some box office news real quick.
Let's do that.
Top in the box office this past weekend was The Boy and the Heron, a movie I had seen that I love, but knew nothing about. It's actually a Japanese anime that was done by Studio Ghibli, which you might remember them from the Star Wars Visions series. They were one of the studios.
Okay.
But apparently it was released in Japan in 2022 and then finally released worldwide just this past weekend.
Gotcha.
Did $13 million here in the US and
Hmm.
much better overseas. Its worldwide total for the weekend was 100 over $100 million, and only did like $13 million here in the US. So that's huge
Yeah,
overseas
it
market
is.
there. It is apparently it is a foreign language film, so it's subtitled, which tends to decrease the US market. Coming in at number two, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And no real surprise there, coming in at number two, adding
Hmm.
another $9 million to its total, with its domestic gross now over $135 million. So domestically, it's already well past its budget. So that
Okay.
movie is going to be a success overall.
Okay. Good.
Godzilla minus one, which is a Godzilla movie that was produced in Japan,
Hmm.
had another decent weekend, adding $8 million, coming in at third. Trolls Band Together keeps rolling along in the top five, with $6 million. And Renaissance, a film by Beyonce, it's a concert movie, a Beyonce concert movie, comes in, rounds us out at number five, adding another $5 million, not even coming close to hitting the numbers Taylor Swift's concert movie has hit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's kind of where we are there with our kind of sparse on the box office this
Yeah,
weekend.
there's not a whole lot going on. Usually this time of year, getting close to the holidays, you got a lot of big movies, but
Yeah.
I,
Yeah,
I'm not.
usually, and over the next couple of weeks, we will have some quote unquote blockbusters. We'll see how they do.
Hmm.
But not much left for the rest of this year.
No,
Only a
not
couple more
exactly.
weekends to go. Um, so then dropped a new trailer for Dune
Hmm.
Part Two. Dropped this past just yesterday, I guess, as of this recording.
Hmm.
Looks really really good, and we'll have to wait and see how that translates to the screen, because that
Yeah.
movie is not coming out until March. Um,
Okay.
but with the actor strike over, I'm starting to see actors promoting the film already.
Oh, that's
So,
good. Yeah,
so
that's
I
good.
I bet we're going to see a lot of movement to promote that movie over the next couple of months. Um, I am also seeing some things about a Dune Part Three, but it will probably cover. It probably is not going to split up the original, uh, the original book into a
Hmm.
third part, but rather cover a separate book.
Yeah.
So we'll
Okay.
have to keep an eye on that. But I'm hearing that that's probably going to be a thing. Um, we've talked about Marvel over the last couple of weeks. We've mentioned Jonathan Majors' issues. His trial defense rested today, and expecting to see final um, the what is it called when the attorneys both get their closing remarks.
Yeah.
Getting their closing
Yeah.
remarks expected to be tomorrow, which will be Thursday, which will
Hmm.
actually be yesterday if we release this on Friday like we expect to. Um, just watching some things about some things that came out during the trial. If this is true, I don't see how Marvel is going to be able to keep Jonathan Majors on.
Mm-hmm.
But if if any of that is even close to true, or if he is convicted because of it, I cannot imagine how they will continue with Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
Sad stuff, but it is what it is.
Yeah. It is what
You
it
know,
is.
I don't really have. Well, there's one other thing. It appears that Marvel has settled a dispute with Steve Ditko's family. Steve, I don't know if you were aware of this, but Steve Ditko's family, the estate, was arguing with Marvel about rights and who gets rights and why, and how
Yeah.
much the estate should be paid for, specifically, mostly Spider-Man and Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
It does look like they came to a settlement, and that they are going to they're now presenting to the judge to dismiss the whole thing with prejudice. And if you're not familiar with the judicial system, with prejudice basically means they can't come back later and try it again.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
it's like they've agreed to this settlement, and this settlement is it. This will settle all of it. They don't say exactly how it was settled or what was
Hmm.
settled. My guess is somebody wrote somebody a big check.
That's usually that's how I shut up. Yeah. That's
Yep.
that what makes me shut up. Yeah.
Yep. You want us to stop doing this show? Write us a big check. We will stop
Hey,
doing this show.
man.
Oh
I
my
can see
goodness.
that. Yes. They'll make it a stimulus package.
But that's really all I have on the nerdy news side, unless you
Okay.
have something else.
I don't have anything for that. Like I said, it's been kind of a slow news week. So
You
as
can
when it
tell
comes
it's
to
getting close to Christmas.
yeah, getting close. So, but hey, we're keeping you entertained with a lot of other stuff that you
Well,
may
we'll try.
like or not. So, anyhow, here we.
And that's all for the nerdy happenings of the week. Speaking of being close to Christmas,
Yes.
Christmas Vacation appears to be the movie of choice right now.
Oh yeah.
We have caught part of that movie probably 5 or 6 times on TV
Oh
over the
yeah.
course of the last week.
Yeah. Exactly. Have you ever thought? I mean, looking back, growing up, the movies that we used to see, It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on on 31st
Oh, yeah.
Street. You have all these old classics. You ever thought we'd come to the point where Christmas Vacation would be that? I love Christmas Vacation, so hey, it's fine with me. But I
Yeah,
just,
not something I was expecting, but
yeah,
with Apple purchasing the Peanuts,
yeah,
and somebody else owns like all the Rankin and Bass stuff, the old wooden puppet Christmas movies.
yeah, yeah,
So some of those are really hard to find now
yeah,
on
yeah.
regular TV more than once. So
Oh yeah, especially Peanuts. I mean, I think
yeah,
I think a year
Apple
ago,
has
I mean, a year
really
ago,
wrapped up all the Peanut stuff,
yeah,
and they've like I don't know who they worked it out with, but they worked it out with one
it was
major
PBS.
network to show it one time.
It was PBS of all
Yeah,
places. The PBS,
yeah,
which is not, yeah.
but
So interesting.
yep, interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
Well, do you have some stupid news for us?
Well, is this world full of people? The
Yes,
answer
it
is
is.
yes. Here we go.
It's the weird and stupid news with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
There's a lot of there's times when I'm in a hurry and I've got to get to work or I've got a destination and I forget something. I forgot my wallet, I forgot my phone, I forgot, something else, my glasses,
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if I've ever forgotten this. Apparently, a man accidentally drove off without his wife for 100 miles while traveling in Thailand.
Wait. He was overseas. He's not from Thailand.
Yeah, a man accidentally drove off without his wife for 100 miles while traveling through Thailand with his wife. His wife is from Thailand, but
Okay.
yes, yeah. I mean,
How do you not notice your wife is not with you 100 miles?
well, this is the thing. Apparently, he thought she was still asleep in the back seat as he hopped back into the vehicle after stopping for a toilet break. Now, he
Okay.
didn't realize that his wife also crept out for a comfort break and hadn't returned either. So, And the couple, they were there. His wife was from Thailand, and they decided to go during the holidays to visit her family. That's in a small town in that area. Now, without any money or a mobile phone, she was left. That was all left in the car. She had to walk 13 miles down the street until she reached a police station. Now, the woman couldn't call her husband's phone, couldn't recall her husband's phone number, so instead she rang her mobile phone about 20 times, which was still in the car. Sadly, the husband did not notice and continued to drive on.
Oh my gosh.
Once the husband realized his wife wasn't there anymore, he was 100 miles away. Now, how do you? Because I guarantee you, come on, husband, come on, man.
Yeah, I'm
Listen,
thinking that was, there
I've
was some
never
on
heard it.
purpose there.
Something has to tell you something when there's all that peace and quiet. Come on. I mean,
I was gonna say, if it's my wife, I would notice because I would not hear the snoring.
yeah, well,
Luckily, my wife never listens to this show.
yeah. And my wife used to, but she doesn't anymore. So I can now say what I want to say, unless somebody out there tries to blackmail me. But anyway, so yeah, I was 100 miles away before he realized he left his wife behind. He had turned around and raced back to pick her up. The couple had been married for 27 years and have a 26-year-old son. We'll find out whether or not they actually have their 28 years. So anyhow,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, that's yeah, as well. There was also a little bit of some, I don't know, kind of a situation that happened for two men. Two men were convicted of a felony theft for stealing more than $2,000 worth of merchandise from Cole in a
Okay.
down in Parker, Colorado. The store, apparently, the thieves argued in court for a lesser charge because the items were on sale and they had coupons.
No, they argued that what they stole, read that right. What they stole,
Yes.
they shouldn't be charged for the full $2,000 worth of merchandise because it was on sale and they had a coupon.
Exactly. Yes, they were formally sentenced this month after being convicted of a retail theft at Kohl's, and this year, according to a news release from the Digital District, the two men were dubbed the KitchenAid Mixer Crew because of the high-end KitchenAid appliances, in addition to brand name shoes and clothing that was stolen in the case. A trial defense attorney suggests to a jury that their client shouldn't face a lesser misdemeanor charge because of some of the items they stole was being offered on sale. Now, in Colorado, theft under $2,000 is a misdemeanor, and
Gotcha.
however, documented value of the items stolen was $2,094.98. So they were just on the cusp of that. Apparently, they didn't have that many coupons, and that makes it a felony. So the two men asked the jury to consider the coupons and the discounts, which would bring the theft down to a misdemeanor. However, the prosecutor argued that sales and discounts are for paying customers.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. He said just because an item is on sale doesn't mean it's free to steal. And these defendants now get to think about the lesson in jail and prison, district attorney said in a news release. Retailers in our community are fed up with theft, and my office will actively prosecute these offenders. Anyhow, now they were sentenced to 15 months in prison and 90 days in jail with time to serve and conditions of an 18-month probation. So just keep in mind, just because you got coupons doesn't mean you can take it off the rack. And that's stupid news.
This has been the Weird and Stupid News with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
Can you imagine that? Really?
Well, you got to try. You don't
Well, they
ask,
did
you don't
try.
get.
That's right. That's right. So, that's right. What we're talking about tonight? We're talking about that.
We are talking about the most amazing movie of the night of 1986,
1986. Highlander. Yes.
Actually, I don't have any clue what other movies came out in
Yeah.
1986. I am curious, though. Now I'm going to look it up.
You should look it up.
That came out in 1986, just so we have some reasonable comparisons here. So Highlander, for those who are the uninitiated, Highlander is a kind of a fantasy movie set in various time frames, but part of it's modern time.
Yeah, just kind of picture the 80s, and everyone has feathered hair and and questionable fashion choices, and
lots of things like that. We have we've got swords, we've got immortals, and we've got fighting and lots of sparks,
exploding castles,
yes. So in comparison, other movies that also came out in 1986, Aliens, Top Gun.
Boy, go ahead.
Stand By Me, Platoon, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Okay, so there were some really, really good movies. That came out.
Yeah.
Now, Labyrinth came out. So there we go. 9.5 Weeks. We will not talk about that one. We will not go there. Big Trouble in Little China.
Loved that movie.
Let's see. I'm trying to. The Fly. The Fly from the 80s version. Little Shop of Horrors. I'm trying to see what other movies that are. Crocodile Dundee. Maximum Overdrive, which is interesting. Howard the Duck came out in 1986.
That's right.
Let's see. I'm not seeing any other movies that. Invaders from Mars.
There you go. Invaders from Mars.
Yeah. So, and your favorite movie of all time, Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
Oh, that's a great one. Yes.
So 1986 had varying levels of good and not so good.
Yeah. And now we're going to talk about Highlander. Yes, Highlander, our hero, Connor McLeod, played by Christopher Lambert, is a Scottish swordsman who discovers he's immortal after surviving a seemingly fatal battle. But wait, catch this. He can only die if he's beheaded by another immortal.
Yes.
And he has the worst Scottish accent that I've ever seen in my life. That's right. He's a Frenchman who has the oddest accent.
We can't get into accents without talking about Sean Connery.
There we go. Exactly.
Now, isn't Sean Connery actually Scottish?
Spanish? Well, he is.
He's
Scottish.
Supposed to be Spanish.
He's a Spanish immortal. Yeah.
Who was born in Egypt, according to the movie.
Yes. And what I can't understand about this, we're getting right into it, folks. I can't understand is, Okay, so the whole thing is about there only can be one left, immortal. Okay, so all these years, the only way you can kill another immortal, you cut their head off, they roll
Yeah.
off. You have to go through this really. First, you have to go through the really bad sound effects of cling, 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 with the sword fighting. And then finally, you have the one, and of course, each time you cut somebody's head off, you suck the energy in and you break car windows and something,
Lots of
everything,
glass and
lots
lots
of
of
glass.
sparks
Because that's
and
what's happened
and
when
some
you drain.
really really poor glowy effects and lightning.
Exactly.
I will
Exactly.
say, so the special effects in this movie definitely don't hold up for today.
No, but I mean, no, compared to today, I mean, a lot of 80s movies don't.
But let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Skipping to the end, the big scene at the end, where there's all the lightning and sparks, and there's weird things that look like ghosts and things.
Mm-hmm.
It it reminds me a lot of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Which
that
came out
scene,
before. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
not very much before though,
No, no, no.
but it does remind me of the level of special effects from that movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about this movie is that it's not self-aware. That's the thing. This movie basically says, you know, but this is a good movie. They're trying really hard here, and Sean Connery. I love Sean Connery, but how do you come up with a Spanish Highlander played by Sean Connery?
Well,
He's
he's
kind of
not supposed to
he's
be
kind of
Island.
like he's
He's
kind of
not
like a
supposed to be a Spaniard.
basically an Obi-Wan Kenobi of immortality. With a little
Yes.
mentor beard on. Um, but yeah, I mean, so I mean, it embraces the campy '80s type of movie.
True.
I you know it's I was reading through it where they try to give Lambert as less lines as possible throughout the movie. He's in 1985. He's antique dealer.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were some fascinating things. Like for me, what's funny, my favorite part, and really, I part of the story I probably would like to want to know more about is he had an older lady that worked in the shop with him in the antique store, and we talked about this earlier.
Yep.
Which as a Highlander, he lives forever, and
Right.
the relationships he has, he grows old, they grow old, they die,
Yeah.
kind of just like his first love. And so anyway, they go through this, and of course it's World War II. He saves this little girl who eventually becomes, kind of,
His
I guess,
secretary.
secretary in the antique store. There's this. I don't know what the relationship is there, but anyhow, it's
Yeah.
there. Uh, and so anyway, there's a lot of these things throughout the movie. For instance, the lady who plays the weird police, is she forensics? What is she
She's
is?
supposed to be a forensics expert for the police.
But
Yes.
apparently she's like a swords expert or something, some kind of a metallic, uh, I and something about how I don't know. It's kind
She
of
knows
hard.
way more things than she should.
Yes, exactly. No, exactly.
Well,
So
yeah, honestly, when I first watched this, I don't know that I was pretty young, and I don't know
yeah,
that I was super paying attention. She reminded me more of a reporter
yes, she did.
than a forensics expert. But,
Yeah,
but they tell us she's a forensics expert, and she keeps searching out forensicsy kind of things. But
yeah,
she strikes me more as this character probably should have been like newspaper reporter or something.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of yeah. I mean that was kind of the bar. Yeah, her police detective. She's a police detective, Brenda, played by Roxanne Hart. They don't have a last name. It's just Brenda. From what I
Brenda Wyatt, according to
Wyatt.
IMDb.
Okay, who's bizarrely an expert in molecular metal and sword making, whatever. And somehow, despite all of this, she's forced off the parking garage murder case by the police chief for some reason. You know, nobody's hiding anything. She's just forced off of it by her police chief, and then all of a sudden, there's like out of nowhere, there's this like lovemaking scene between the two of them that just comes out of nowhere. It was like it was like, I mean, there wasn't even a
Definitely,
connection, emotional
I was going
thing.
to
It
say
was just, it was
the
like,
1980s. We have to have a love scene in our movie thing.
yes,
Definitely came out in this movie,
yes,
and
you
it
have
was
to,
sudden and no
you
clear
have,
reason or connection.
no,
You know,
and you must show at least one nipple. That is the rule in the 80s. One nipple, and then you can move on.
you're not wrong.
Yes.
You're not wrong.
No, no, I'm not. So, you know, you have that going on. Um, but yeah, I
Now,
mean,
now
go ahead.
all those things are not the best.
Okay, good. I'm glad we cleared that up. I know you're
But
going to
there
put a
are
little,
some kind of interesting things in this movie, I think.
yeah, and I think you should polish the turd. So go ahead, let's do this.
Honestly, some now I will say another bad thing in this movie.
Yeah.
The sword play overall is not great.
No, and that's yeah, the choreography, and I mean
The fight
the
choreography was
sounds.
a
It's
little,
yeah,
and there
except for in the garage. Let me ask you this: you can't choreograph people really getting into sword fighting. Like you can't bring the guys from the Renaissance fair in and show you how to do sword fighting, but you can have a guy do front flips for almost 5 minutes in the garage.
for
Can you
no
give
apparent reason. I'm
for
like, why
no?
doesn't he just run away?
I mean, he's showing. I mean, he's just flipping. I
Okay,
could.
so,
Okay. Never
so
mind. Go ahead. We're
I
back
will
to
say a couple of
yeah.
things I did really like about this movie, and it has more to do with the filmmaking than the story or anything else.
Okay.
Um, some of the camera work is really, really good. And okay, so the opening scene of this movie, I had
Mhm.
completely forgotten about the
Yeah.
opening scene of this movie, that it is a wrestling match with the fabulous Freebirds.
Yes. Old time
Completely
wrestling right there, buddy.
old school wrestling. I had completely forgotten that was a thing. But there is this crazy shot where the camera is like flying all around, like
Yeah.
almost 360 around the ring,
Yeah.
and then flies up into the stands to where Connor McLeod is
Oh no,
sitting.
that's
And it is super cool. I'm like, how
how
did
do
they
they
do
do that?
this? So
Yeah.
I looked it up, and um, it was actually kind of created for this film. It was this really complex wire wire setup where they were
Yeah.
able to basically run the camera back and forth. Now, I know you're not a huge sports fan, but it would be very similar to how they shoot sporting events today,
Yeah.
where they have this camera that is on wires that's connected across the stadium, and they run the camera back and forth and around and all these weird things, how they're able to track. And
Well, you're telling me I'm not a proper man?
I didn't say you weren't a proper man. I just said I know you're not super into sports.
Yeah,
Um,
just
but uh,
IT crowd humor. Go ahead.
but the current football stadium camera setup
Mm-hmm.
is very similar to how they did this, but they were doing this in 1986, and it's all computerized. It's not Industrial Light and Magic, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
but the guys who were working this film created that setup. Um,
Hmm.
so it's and some of the other shots just look gorgeous. Some of the
Yeah.
way they use light in this film, some of the way they use color. Some of it's really good. Then there are scenes where it's really cheesy, like where what's her name, Brenda, where Brenda's getting chased by Kurgan through her house. That
Hmm.
is that is super 1980s horror
Hmm.
movie Freddy meets Krueger kind of stuff.
Yeah, that they're kind of borrowing from different genres is what they're doing here.
Yeah.
But I mean, they had the actor. I mean, of course, Sean Connery. I love Sean Connery. That Clancy Brown is in it, which
Yep.
he plays the main baddie. Which
Kurgan.
I think he's done a good job. I thought he was
Oh
probably.
yeah.
I think he did a real good job in the movie. And I do. The thing is with this movie is, of course, it's the 1980s, right? This is
Mhm.
be the first time that I feel like an original movie that the reboot would be better. The remake would be better because, and I was reading somewhere, I think they have Henry Cavill is supposed to be doing a reboot of
That is what they're
this.
saying. They're saying he has signed on. Um, I'm super excited about it,
I
and
love the
I
premises of the
do hope
story.
I do hope they legitimately reboot it. Tell
Yes,
the original story again.
again, yeah,
Don't
because most
don't
people,
deal
yeah,
don't deal
this
with
is
what they tried to do in the second and third movie, which was dumb.
yeah, just totally erase it, start a whole new canon. I mean, this is one area that I say yes, do away with the canon and start from scratch because
Yeah,
we've seen Harry Cavill in The Witcher. This
yeah.
is so up his alley. He's such a good actor. He's the perfect specimen for this,
Oh yeah.
and I like this concept. I like this concept, this movie that,
Mhm.
it's just, it was done back in the 80s,
It
limited
was done in the
budget,
80s. It was done low. I mean,
budget. I mean,
considerably low
most of the
budget.
money probably went to Sean Connery.
I
Um,
I think I read the budget on this movie was like 16 million or something like that. And yeah, honestly, most of it probably went to Sean Connery and
yeah,
location shooting in Europe. Because now the Highlands, um, the places they went and shot in the
yeah.
Highlands, it's gorgeous.
Oh my
The
goodness, yeah.
scenery is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I'm sure they paid big bucks to travel. By the way, this is something I read. Sean Connery, due to scheduling issues, only had 1 week to shoot all of his stuff,
Oh wow.
and he had a running bet with the director that they wouldn't be able to get it all shot in 7 days,
That's funny.
but they pulled it off.
That's funny. I
So
think the other thing, one thing that's kind of odd to me. So this whole concept of this movie is okay. So there's only can be one. Then why
mhm.
in the heck does Sean Connery, his character, trains him? If there's only supposed to be one left, I mean, he's an immortal.
Yeah,
There's other immortals. They
yeah.
act like they're friends. They act like, that, and they kind of help each other. But in the back of their head, don't they know eventually only one of them's going to survive?
Well, and he even asks in Connor McLeod even asks at one point, what will you do if you and I are the last two? And I don't recall that he actually
I
really
don't,
answers him.
I never, yeah,
And then there's later on we see in modern day we see this uh, Sunda, I think is his name. Um, he's the black guy who's an immortal, and they're friends, and they have a drink together before he gets killed in like the next
but,
scene
yeah,
by the Kruger
yeah. And
Kurgan.
my question is, I can understand the evil dude. He wants power. But
Oh yeah,
well, what the deal? What do you, I don't, do they ever make clear what the end result is of what's the prize of being the last one? I mean, I don't even think I've seen anything in here why you want to be the last immortal. What's the,
Well, okay, so at
it's
the
not
very
very
end of
clear
the
to
movie,
me because I know this. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, at the very end of the movie, and we're jumping all around. If the, by the way, if we're spoiling this movie for you, this was 40 years, almost
Years
40 years
ago,
ago. Surely, if you haven't seen it now, you're probably not going to go watch it.
you're not gonna watch
Um,
it.
so,
This is more for our amusement.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
So, at the end of the movie, he makes the comment, and basically asking to the universe, asking Sean Connery's character, you know,
yes,
this is part of the prize you didn't tell me about. He tells his new girlfriend, Brenda, that I'm just like you now. I can live a I can live a regular life and I can have children, kind of implying that what he won by defeating all the immortals is to live a mortal life.
sounds like a prize to me. But
But I mean, is that not what you got from
well,
what he
that's what I
said?
got from it too. But then I have to understand. Well, why did the? I mean, Kruger. I mean, or yeah, Kruger. I'm going to call
Kurgan,
him Kruger.
Kurgan.
Kirkendorken. I mean, think about it. I mean, why would he want that?
I,
That's what I mean. Why
I
would he
don't know.
want that? Or is the prize whatever is what you want? Is it the
Well, he's
prize?
supposed to have like super intelligence, and he can like help the world, and I don't know what
Mm,
all did he say there. He says a bunch of stuff. He says a
yeah.
whole mess of things, but like he can he can go out into the world and help. Um, you're at one with all living things.
Yeah, I
Each
heard.
man's thoughts and dreams are yours now.
Well,
Kind of like you have power beyond imagination, whatever that means.
but you grow old and die. I mean,
But
what?
you're gonna grow old and die.
Yeah, it's just such a mixed message. It's so all over the place.
It is. It is.
I mean, so
I
I mean,
have
there's no This problem is the lack of continuity, and I mean, let's talk about it as a movie. Even at that time, it's like you don't know. There's really no feeling of what's at stake. There's no, I mean, except whoever's going to be the last Highlander.
I was
There's
gonna
really
say
no
the one
sense.
thing that seems to be at stake is whether or not you're gonna lose your head.
Well, see, but Clancy's character, I think he says something in there about him ruling or something, or there was some. I mean, there was a little bit of talking
Yeah,
about.
if the Kurgan won, then mortal men would suffer for forever after
Well, I
that.
mean, and how is that going to happen if he ends up if the same thing happens to him?
And
I
he can
don't
die.
get that. I mean,
I
now he
don't.
can walk. Now he can walk. I mean, before that, he could walk around, chop people's heads off, do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
And why can't they all just be friends? Hey, we'll all live together, and we'll have an
Well, and
apartment
why
on
did
the.
and
Why do you have to? Yeah, I mean, do you have to be the
if the
last one with your head
Kurgan
cut off?
if the Kurgan's the only bad guy, why didn't they
You,
all just group up on him and kill him?
yeah, why not? Why
And then
not?
they
That's
could
what I
all
would
live
do.
happily ever after together
That's
as
right.
immortals.
Immortals. And it could be the real, it could be better than the Immortals of Marvel. So it could be, they actually could
Wouldn't
be,
take much.
wouldn't take much.
Oh my
That's sad.
goodness.
Yeah. So
It is such a strange movie.
it's a strange movie. It was fun to watch again. I mean, it was like, watching it the first time because I hardly remembered any of it except for the Sean Connery. And I forgot he was supposed to be Spanish. And,
It's Spanish with a Japanese sword.
and he was born in Egypt.
And
So
he,
that's pretty wild. But no, yeah. So, but but really what it comes down to is watching this, I'm thinking this is a good premise for a really good movie.
Yes. I will say, of all things, I will say the story could have been written better.
Yeah.
The dialogue could have been written better, but it was the 80s, and this is kind of what you got a lot.
I mean, I could have, the special effects, some of the sound effects, I could forgive if the dialogue and and there was some more consistency in the story. I,
Yeah.
I I can overlook some stuff. It's like I love Raiders of the Lost Ark, love it. At the very end, with the scene where
It'd
opening the
almost be
ark.
better if they hadn't had the special effects.
Yes, exactly. But I was able to overlook it because it was such a good movie with a good story and
Yeah.
characters, and okay, where this was not. So everything looked bad. But I but
Well,
I love the concept.
and you brought it up earlier. There's the scene where Sean Connery and the Kurgan have a fight, and basically they knock down the entire castle,
Yeah, I
which
mean
is
it
super ridiculous, and I
and it
don't understand why it's a thing.
well, you could tell it was styrofoam, and it just kind of exploded. It wasn't as if it just crumbled apart. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it was ridiculous, and so um, I, but it is a true '80s. It's a true embodiment of the campy part of the '80s.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh, and the
sometimes,
one of the
yeah,
funniest ridiculous lines
yeah,
is she comes up. It's the big final battle. She comes up and hits the Kurgan in the back of the head, and just as the Kurgan's about to drop the sword on her, you know, McLeod's sword stops it, and he goes, "Well, it's about time you joined us. It's about time you joined us," or something like that.
it was
I was like,
some weird. Yeah,
that is the epitome of the bad '80s dialogue right there.
and it wasn't executed well at all. So yeah, that's interesting. It's
Yeah, it is. This is one of those things. Now, you mentioned on Connor McLeod's dialogue, they tried to reduce his dialogue.
yeah,
His accent and his dialogue kind of works when he's in the 1700s or 1300s or whenever that's supposed to be, and
yeah,
he's a Scottish Highlander. It kind of works there. It's clunky and weird, and you know
yeah.
but then when he gets to be modern day and he still talks exactly the same way, it just doesn't
It
work.
doesn't. No, it doesn't. Not at all. I mean, the best one of the and what's funny about this is that they had Queen do the entire soundtrack of it. That's what I can't understand. That is like,
Okay, so I read a little bit about that.
yeah.
Originally, okay, so this was interesting. Originally, Queen was supposed to do one song.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But in order to convince them to do it, they showed them the whole movie with no music, basically. Um, and they liked the movie so much that they asked to do the whole soundtrack. Now, they didn't do the the orchestral stuff.
Yeah.
They just did the big themes and the songs, but they watched the movie again, and they each took lines of dialogue to create songs for the movie, which is where we get the song "It's a Kind of Magic." It's a line in the movie. It's not a line in the movie because of the song. It's a song because of a line in the
The
movie.
Lion of the movie. Wow.
And that's the way they came up with all of the songs. They watched them, and then they would each band member got connected um, with certain scenes, and then they would write a song for that scene. and that's how we got all those songs.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so they actually asked to do it. Now, mind you, they're really good songs.
Oh yeah.
I don't know of any of the songs that I don't like.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes,
Some of them are
exactly. I'm
weird,
a
but they
fan. They're
still are
weird,
kind
but
of cool
yeah.
songs.
Yeah.
Um, so there's another weird thing. This is one of those, I think only film guys notice this. And I think it's weird and kind of dorky that I even noticed it, but I noticed it multiple times. Um, Whoever the set designer is
Hmm.
has something about green apples. And I'm telling you, you wouldn't notice unless you're looking for it. But in a bunch of set designs, there is a bowl with green apples. And I noticed it first. The first time I noticed it, and I thought that's
Hmm.
such an odd choice, is when
Yeah.
the cops are talking to the guy who just like he got stabbed and he had shot the guy a bunch of times.
Hmm.
He's in a almost a bare hospital room,
Hmm.
and then he's got his little hospital table, and on the hospital table there's a bowl with green apples. For no reason, he's got like a bowl of like 6 or 8 green apples. If you watch the movie, every so often during a movie, you see a bowl with some green apples.
There has to be some connection there somehow. Maybe not so much about the movie, but something that's an
Some
inside
set design,
joke or some
I
or an
don't know what
inside.
it is, but like when Sean Connery's character is drinking with the girl and
Hmm.
McLeod's not there, there's a bowl of green apples there. At the very end of the movie, where Connor um, and oh, what's her name again, Brenda,
Brenda.
where they're having
Yeah.
their little picnic on the Scottish Highlands. Behind her, there's a little bowl with green apples. I don't know how many times. I'd have to actually watch through the movie to see how many times it shows up.
Well,
But
that
it's
has to be
enough
okay.
times that it has to be some goofy thing that somebody said, "Oh, this will be funny. I wonder if anybody will notice." I
Well, I
noticed.
mean, well, yeah, you noticed. I didn't notice. I was, but again, I was trying to deal with the dialogue.
The
It was
cringe of the '80s.
cringe of the '80s.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness! And the and it is the epitome of the '80s. Like you mentioned,
yes,
the
yeah.
way people dress, the way they look, their hairstyles. Oh, it's so the '80s. And there's a one scene where a guy's eating from a bag of Doritos, and it is just it's a 1980s Doritos bag. There's just no question about it.
Well,
That's
you
what
saw,
it is.
and you saw and of course you saw the endorsements in there, like when he's in the garage and he steps on a Coca-Cola can.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, there's the ad revenue that's going on in the movies. So, uh, but no, I think as far as the premise, I like. They can really do something with this movie as far as the story of this movie on a reboot.
I think so.
I'm hoping that you know I I think that's still a lit for uh, Cavill to play.
Yeah,
You know,
of
play
all
this
the people they
character.
could choose, I think he is a great choice
I think so too.
because he will be able to do the one thing um, that Christopher Lambert can't.
Speak
He will
English.
be able to.
Oh, I
Well,
mean,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say be able to change his accent
Yes.
to fit different scenes at
Yeah.
different times.
Yeah.
So if they do, and now this is one thing I do hope they do in the reboot. I I really do like the way this movie plays with non-linear storytelling.
Yeah. I do too. I like how it
And
goes back. I like how
yeah,
it's
it's
and
an
that
important part of
and
how
it's
this
done
movie
well.
is made. Yes, it is.
That was one thing I felt like in this whole movie, it was done well, how it went back. And because so many movies that try to do that, they do a horrible time, and
Yeah.
it felt natural. It felt good.
Yes, it works so well because he's in the modern time, and
Yes.
something happens that is important that we now go back
Yeah.
and see why that's
And it was
important.
done well. I mean,
Yeah, it
it
really
was
was. It
done well.
probably, honestly, it's probably the best part of the movie.
I
The way
agree.
they laid out the
Yeah.
nonlinear storytelling.
Yes.
Um, I am with you. The premise of this movie, I really, really love the premise. I think
Yeah.
it's a great premise. It's a lot of fun. Um, like you said, some of the choice of actors wasn't brilliant, and the dialogue isn't brilliant, but the premise and some of the production is really,
Mhm.
really good.
Yeah.
I will say another thing: the practical effects outside of the sparks
Hmm.
annoy me.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of the practical effects were pretty good in the modern day. The practical effects, the falling apart of the building is
Hmm.
ridiculous and dumb.
Yeah.
But some of the other practical effects were pretty cool,
Yeah.
like like the room full of cars jumping is. I mean, it's a weird idea, but it actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah. It does. Yeah.
The when he finally wins and the whole wall of glass shatters behind him, it really looks cool.
Yeah. It does look
It's
really
kind
good.
of weird why it happens, but it looks really cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
And
It is.
that is something that probably is another fail in this movie. There's some really cool things that you go, why did you do that? Why did you decide to do it that way?
Exactly.
It looks really cool, but
It does. It's
it
like
feels
he's
more like some production guy went, "This would be really cool. Let's do
basically, yeah.
it."
Yeah. I
Not
did.
because it made any sense
Yeah. Some of it was
story
just kind of felt like it was just thrown in going, we need something that's, I don't know, a little epic. We need something. And, like I said, it, I like the premise, and I'm glad you mentioned the callbacks, the back and forth, because that was one thing I did enjoy about it. I liked how they do a callback, and I do like. I think some of the production, especially on, I mean, um, I love the remote spots they were in, especially in,
Oh
and I think of Scotland.
yeah.
And
If they
was it
don't,
Scotland that they actually did that in, or
um,
was it, or
I
some Europe?
read a little bit about that. Some of it was England, some of it was Wales, some of it
Okay.
was in Scotland,
Okay.
and
And
it
I
just
love that
a
part.
lot
I
of
love
various
that.
different places.
Yes.
I this is funny. I think this is funny. One thing I read about the production was the initial scene, the fight scene in the garage.
Yeah.
That's not a garage, and it's not New York. It is apparently it was a farmer's market in London
Oh, really?
because they at the time they were planning on shooting in London, but
Mm-hmm.
the parking garages in London didn't have ceilings high enough to make it convincing that it was a New York parking garage.
Okay. Interesting.
So they found
Yeah.
this farmers market that had higher ceilings and concrete floors, and it looked more like a parking garage.
Yeah.
Um, but when I first saw it, I thought it's really weird. Some of those cars are parked really strangely. I wonder
Mm-hmm.
why. And then I read that bit about that it wasn't really a parking garage.
Oh
But,
man. Yeah.
yeah, so it was shot kind of all over the place. Some of
Okay.
it was shot in the U.S., some of it was shot in London, some of it was in Scotland, and then there were some in Wales.
Well, that's pretty cool. I really do. But I think for me, I enjoyed the, I think it really, I think I agree with you. Once we get into modern times, it was a little harder to swallow some of the dialogue.
Yeah.
just because of it's supposed to be modern times and the accent and all that. But again, like I said, I hope the reboot happens. I'm one of these people, I hate reboots of movies, but this one right here, um, it, I would take the same premise and do something, put some high production value into it and some good writing and some good actors and some good sound effects and good special effects. And well, I guess you don't have that movie anymore. But what you do have is something, no, but anyway, I think I would
So,
love to see this happen.
so Jason Momoa as the Kurgan.
Interesting. I can see that. I mean,
Anyone else? Not John Cena, please.
no, oh
Dear
my
Lord, not
goodness.
John Cena.
No, yes,
He
that'd
doesn't
be
tend to
on.
play really bad guys anyway. He tends to play silly things.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the
but
truth.
I'm not sure who could play the big bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do Mimosa. I like Mimosa. I think he's pretty awesome, but I don't really want him as a villain.
Mm.
Not in that part. It's interesting that you brought that up. I mean,
He's a villain in the most recent Fast and Furious movie,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so a
okay.
lot of people thought it was just okay.
And I think as a villain, if you're going to talk about, he doesn't have to be this overly athletic, strong, muscle building person like, the body like, Henry Cavill, Cavell, because I do think that, you can have some other actors in there, Mendelsohn, you could have some
Yeah,
other characters that
somebody
can be
who's
some.
more cerebral.
Yeah, you could do that. Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, watch him fall off a castle. Um,
Um, do you want to see the Sean Connery kind of Obi-Wan character in the movie, or do you
I don't.
think that's unnecessary?
I think it's unnecessary.
I do feel like it was kind of. I don't know how much you know about that. The whole Star Wars thing. You read about movie making. You hear
Yeah,
the hero's journey. It is
yeah. I
kind of
mean,
the hero's journey thing.
yeah.
You meet there's this point in the hero's journey where you meet the old wise wizard, whatever.
Well, who
And
would that be?
he,
Who would we want to play that?
who would you want to play that? Um,
Patrick Stewart.
probably too old.
Yeah, that's what. Well,
Um, could would Ewan McGregor be old enough?
you'll feel kind of weird. Ewan
I think it
McGregor
would
just
feel a little
a
weird.
little weird.
Probably not quite old enough either.
Yeah,
Not sure. I'm not sure. Mark Hamill maybe. Mark Hamill can play an older guy,
yeah, but
but
this just wouldn't feel. It would be campy. We don't want it campy.
true. That's true.
Okay, we
Yeah,
don't
I
want
can
to be
see that.
campy. We want to get somebody that's not campy for that role. I mean, I like Mark Hamill, but that's not. Yeah,
Yeah,
have him stay.
I'm not really sure who would be
Well, I
a
mean,
good
think
fit.
about it. Think about it. Some good actors. Well, look at some of the actors we have in Dune. Uh,
Yeah.
I know he's not. He can play older. Is Oscar um, played in Moon Knight, and he also is in
Oscar
Dune.
Isaacs.
Also,
Yes.
he could play that.
And so with that in mind, let me see here because I can't think of his name right now. For the Kurgan, you could do rather than Jason Momoa, you could have a guy like Dave Bautista,
Oh, that would be perfect.
who's actually a pretty decent actor.
Yeah, I think so.
We pick on John Cena all the time, but guys like The Rock and we weren't really sure what Dave Bautista was going to do when he came out of professional wrestling and went into acting, but
Yeah.
he actually is a pretty decent actor.
It's pretty good. You give him, especially you give him some good, parts that really fits him. I think it's pretty good. So I can
Yeah,
see him doing that.
yeah.
I do. So
Oscar Isaacs, I think, could pull off the the Spaniard um, thing.
I think so. I mean, I think
I
he,
think that could work. Um, Maybe Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin. I love, yeah,
I mean, I like him. I'm not positive on that one,
as
but
far as him.
maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
We're doing our own casting, folks. We're actually
yeah,
now
we
producing our own
rarely do
film.
that.
So,
I was gonna
yes,
say we so rarely do that,
we
but
need to do our own. We'll have a show where we're going to produce our own film. We're not really produce. You'll get to listen to us for an entire hour putting a plot together and actors and a budget and all that, and it'll just be for our amusement. But yeah, uh, yeah. So I think Bautista would be good. I think
yeah,
I think we have some. I mean, there's some really good actors who can play and fit in that. So
oh yeah,
who's going to be the female in it? That's going to be one we've got to think of, the female. Folks, put your comments below. Let us
gotta have
know.
a gotta have a love interest for
Hmm.
at least one of her love one of his love interests.
It can't
Um,
be like, yeah, and it can't be the typical '80s helpless screamer.
no,
We can't have that. Uh,
it's I'm not good with this kind of stuff.
Elizabeth, she played in the Hunger
Elizabeth
Games.
Olsen. Oh, um,
Jennifer Lawrence
Jennifer Lawrence, maybe.
from the Hunger
Um,
Games. Um,
what about Elizabeth Olsen?
that would be fun. Yeah, I like Elizabeth Olsen. That'd be good.
That could work. She's a good actor if you can
Yeah,
get her out of Marvel for 5 minutes.
yeah, that's true.
Um,
That's true.
uh,
I mean, who's the actress that plays? And they had a couple. I mean, they had some great actresses in the Ahsoka series. Um,
oh yeah,
the one that plays Sabine, I think she would be great.
oh yeah.
She would be a great. Um, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, is there anything out there on the Highlander? Is there any information out there on I am?
I haven't seen anything recently um, other than Cavell.
Okay. Well, because we know it's coming, folks. Don't make it. Don't Highlander Henry Cavill. Let's see. I have it pulled up, and yes, like you said, it's just a picture of him. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, is there anything like an IMDb or anything about anything about the new Highlander reboot? I mean,
I haven't looked. Let me see if there is one.
Okay, here is one. The only person I see is
Highlander
Cass,
Henry Cavell.
and
He
that's
is
all I see.
listed.
Cavill.
An immortal Scotsman swordsman faces off with other immortal warriors in order to obtain a coveted ability.
I mean,
That
you have,
is
yeah.
all that they have.
I mean, they just have people for screenplay. They have executive producer, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But I
So the
don't see.
director is listed,
Yeah.
and the director did John Wick 4 and did,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and apparently he did the stunts for Deadpool 2. So that's
Interesting.
interesting.
Okay.
Um, so, but let's see, who else do we have?
Huh.
Ryan Condal as a
And
writer.
most of these people I'm not familiar with, but
He did some work with House of the Dragon.
huh.
So
Really? Huh. Okay. Well, folks
could
out
be
there, what do you think?
good.
Would you look forward to seeing a reboot of the Highlander? And what do you think about the choice of playing the main character? And who would you pick to play the love interest, the mentor, just the villain? Throw your comments down there below and let us know what you think. Um, but
So overall, what did you think of the movie after watching it again?
uh, what I thought was, I'm watching the movie because we were going to do a show on it, and that it will probably never be clicked on again to watch. Um, it brought it. I thought it was actually, I thought it was a missed opportunity. It was that's I just was not. I love the idea, but for me, watching it was like, oh, you could have done this. Oh, and I could, I mean, I love seeing exploding styrofoam castles like the next guy, but there were just some stuff. It was just hard for me to swallow, So,
I'm with you on that. I I think that I enjoyed watching it more than you did.
I have a feeling
Um,
you did. Yeah.
uh, I will say there were things that I thought, man, that is so the '80s. I bet they probably could have done more with that.
Yeah.
But
I,
and some of the dialogue is clunky and not great, but I still really really like the idea of Highlander,
well,
and
and,
I did
yeah.
enjoy watching it again. I will probably watch it again some other time,
Mm.
but it may be, you know 4 or 5 years from now. I'm not This is not something I'm going to seek out every year, that I must watch this movie at least
I mean, this
once.
was something I would make my kid watch because I want him to see it, because I want him to, have to bear and grin it like I did. I tell you what, I honestly, I like the flow, believe it or
Mhm.
not, and Queens, put those together,
Yeah.
liked it a lot. And it, you know, but this is not something I would run out and tell people, you got to go see this.
Yeah. It definitely is an acquired taste. And if you didn't grow up in the '80s, you're probably not going to appreciate this movie as
No,
much as we did.
no. Like I said, yeah, yeah, and that was back when Sean Connery, he would take any part at that time. So, he was
Very
kind of
true.
he's kind of the way he's kind of like, it's funny because the relationship is kind of like Harrison Ford now,
Yes.
how he is. He'll, you know, just
Oh, you're
say
going to
me.
pay me a large amount of money? Yes, I'll say
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Oh, I don't have, oh yeah, I'll read the script.
Oh wait, I
Uh,
only have to be on set for 7 days. Yeah, I can do. I can
yeah,
pull. I can do
I'll
7 days.
show me the money. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah. So, folks, if you just please like and subscribe, put your comments below. Of course, next week will be the show before Christmas, so we're going to be talking about some holiday related stuff. We're going to be discussing a little bit of what we like to call the holiday special. That's right. If you don't know what that means, well, think of your favorite franchise, Star Wars, and something that should never happen, holiday special, and put them together. Yes, we call that a disaster. So, but we're going to talk about it next week. And so if you don't have anything else, I'll just let the folks know you can get us on speakingnerdy.com. You can check us out on YouTube/speakingnerdy.com. And of course, you can check us on Facebook and Instagram. You can check out all of our audio podcast on wherever you can find your favorite podcasting platform. That's all I have, folks. May the Highlander be with you.
This has been the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Pope.
May the Highlander be with you.
I don't know. Yeah, Highlander. I don't know.
Oh
It's
my
just,
gosh.
I just had to. I don't know.
There can be only force.
Yeah, don't ever cut off my head.